Well, welcome back. We're continuing in our journey through the Psalms this year. We've got just a few more to go. We're in Psalm 131 of 150 Psalms, and we've been going through the Psalms through the year. So this has been our project in 2024. Today we're in Psalm 131. Let me switch over to that. Short psalm, just three verses. I've labeled this psalm calm and focused, and really love this psalm. Love it because it's really profound. It's really emphasizing humility and trust and commitment, and reveals David as someone who has learned over time to submit himself to God's sovereign care and to avoid being consumed by pride or overwhelming ambition. How important that is. The psalmist, I think, in humility, acknowledges David here that there's just some things that are too complex, too much for him, too great to fully grasp. And when he confronts these things, he places his trust in God. So often, I think we find ourselves taking on worries and concerns and even projects that the Lord hasn't called us to do, that He hasn't given us responsibility to worry over. We worry over things we have no control over, no influence on. So the psalm really helps us to make an effort to quiet our soul, find contentment. And then at the end of the psalm, I love verse 3, he calls Israel to do the same. So we see David say, learning. And then once he's learned something, he wants to share it with the nation. So what a great example for us to do the same. As you can see, our highlight verse today is verse 2. It uses this image of a weaned child to describe his soul. I think the weaning process, if we think about that, moves away from seeking immediate gratification as like a nursing child does, to this resting with God, resting without necessarily immediate sustenance, but just resting in the embrace and the arms of his mother. I think it represents kind of a movement toward a deep spiritual maturity that finds contentment in God's providence in our lives, and God's timing and God's purposes for us. How can we apply this today? Well, by practicing, I think, humility and trust, how difficult that is sometimes. We worry about so much. We take on so many things as if we have to do it. And we struggle with wanting to control. We want to understand. We want to influence. And this is really an invitation, I think, to compose and quiet our soul, as David does here, to lean against God, to rest in His arms, to trust Him like a child trusts his mother. So I'd say, in terms of response, take some time today in prayer and ask God to help you quiet your soul, quiet your heart, just like David did. To learn this lesson through David, through the Holy Spirit, reminding us, and surrender those things that are beyond your control. Recognize that you can't understand everything, that we all have limits, and we all have God-given limits, and they're there for a reason. He wants us to rest in Him. So rest in the fact that God is ultimately trustworthy. Ultimately, His plans are perfect. He's not going to disappoint us. Ask for His grace to embrace humility, to avoid pride, and to not pursue selfish ambition, but to rest in His plans for you, brothers and sisters. Find rest for your soul today.